Alright, welcome back. Now it's time to go over the if statement. And just the word if is one of the most important words in programming in general. It's basically making a decision. It's how your computer has, I think it's like flow control is what it's called. Basically, it looks at some condition and then it makes some logical decision based on that. So this is sort of the building blocks of computer programming. Because right now we're just printing things to the screen. We're not really doing anything useful. But now let's do something useful. So first, let's make a coffee mug variable. Coffee mug var. Set it equal to a number, 5. Alright, now we're just going to test that with an if statement. So we're going to say if with the keyword if, and notice how it turns orange. If coffee mug var is equal to 5. Now notice how I use two equal signs here. That's because if I just used one equal sign, it would try to set coffee mug var equal to 5. So we already set it up here. Now it's giving us this error because it's like, I don't know what you mean. Well, what's a colon first of all? It's still going to give us an error because it doesn't, within this context, within this if condition, it doesn't make sense to set a variable. So that's why it's giving us an error. So we don't want to set it, we want to compare it. So you do that with two equal signs. So now it's saying if the coffee mug var is equal to 5, colon. Now see when I hit enter there, it automatically indented. Python, that's how it works. Python's white space sensitive, meaning this indentation means something specific. So in other languages, how you would do it is you would use like curly braces like this, and then put your code in here. It didn't matter if it was indented. You could start it here, or you could start it way out here. It doesn't matter. But that's not how Python works. So Python's one of a few languages that use white space, and I'm a fan of it. It makes it look cleaner. So right now we have our condition. So if coffee mug var is equal to 5, that's our condition. Now, what do you want to do if that's true? This is our execution code, or our just the block of code that would get executed if that's true. If that's true, what do you want to do? We're just going to print. We'll just say print. Wow, that is true. Okay. Now, if everything works right, this should print out because it's going to look at this and say it is 5. So go ahead and execute this code. So let's run this. Yep. Wow, that is true. So if we change this to 50, let's look at it again. Nothing prints out. So that's a basic if statement. So very important just to understand the concept. It's pretty simple. So if that's true, do this. Now we're going to throw in something called else. So else, if that's not true, else what do you want to do? And now we're not going to give it a condition right now. We're just going to say else print. Wow, that's not true. True. That's not true. Let's see what we get here. Wow, that's not true. Change it back to 5. We get wow, that is true. So that's pretty interesting. This is very, very important to understand. I think you guys do. It's not too crazy. So we just did equals. We could also use greater than or less than signs here. So if coffee mug var is greater than 5, so if we make this 50 now, it's going to say, is that greater than 5? And it should be, so it's going to print, wow, that is true. Oops. Yep, now let's make it -5. Wow, that's not true. Okay, so that makes sense. So that's pretty cool. Now I want to cover else if statements. So basically, let's just look at it. So let's get that coffee var back. If coffee mug, all right, if coffee var is greater than 5, print while that is true. Okay. Now let's say ELIF, which means else if. Else if. Now, remember how before we just had that else and we didn't give it a condition? Now we're going to give it another condition. So else if coffee mug var is less than 5. Oops, less than 5. Print. Wow, that is true. Actually, let's not get these. Let's not use less than or greater than. Let's use equals. Equals 5. Equals 5. So if coffee mug equals 5, let's make it if it equals 50 or equals 50. Else if coffee mug var equals 60. And now you can just chain on additional else ifs. So else if, oops, we don't need that indentation. Else if coffee mug var equal to 5, print this is the correct value. Actually, we want that to print out. Yeah, we just want wow, that's true to print out, if that's right. Alright, and the thing with else ifs is at the end of it we can tack on an else and say else print, I don't know, that's the wrong value. So let's run this and see what we get. We should get -5 here, or we should get, I don't know, that's the wrong value because there's no solution in here where it's correct. So let's run it. Yep, I don't know, that's the wrong value. So basically what happened here is it looked at this, said that wasn't true, so it didn't execute this and just moved on to this one. Tried this condition, that wasn't true, moved on. Tried that, wasn't true, moved on, and then finally got to this last case, this last scenario, and just said, alright, I give up. There were no cases in my little else if, so we're just going to use this basic default else condition. So else, just do this. So you might be wondering, how is this different than just having a bunch of ifs? So let's comment this out. Another cool thing in PyCharm is you can highlight the whole thing, go to code, and say comment with line comment for the commenting the whole thing out. So you might be wondering, why can't we just say if coffee mug var equal to 50, print that this is true. If coffee mug var is equal to -5, print this is true, and so on and so on. If coffee mug var equal to negative, or why do I keep using negatives, is equal to 4. Let's make this one 4, this one 5, print this, oops, this is true. One more, just to illustrate it. Okay, so with a bunch of ifs here, it's going to evaluate every single if regardless of if it was correct. So it's going to say if coffee mug var is 50, print this. Well, it's not. So it's going to move on to this next one. If it's 4, print it. Well, it's not true either, so it's going to move on to this next one. If it's 5, it's going to realize that's true and print this, but then it's also going to go down and try this if again. So it's kind of wasteful in that sense. So what if this 5 condition, let's make this one 50 and make this one 5. So what if this 5 condition was up here and it found it in the first try? The program would still go through all these ifs, so it's kind of wasteful and redundant. So that's kind of what the else if, how that comes in handy. It doesn't waste code. And sort of in this scenario, all of these statements are tied to this first condition. In here, these are all totally separate. They're not dependent on the outcome of another solution or another condition, if that makes sense. So if we say else here, else print, I don't know, that else is only tied to this statement here. It has nothing to do with all these. So that's cool. And one other thing before this video ends, it's getting a little long, but let's just go over it, is the else if. That's just a shorthand way of writing literally else if. So we could say if coffee mug var is equal to 50, print this is true. Else if coffee mug var is equal to 60. Oh no, we have to indent that. So else if coffee mug vars equal to 60. Print this is true. Same thing here. Now we're going to say else colon if colon, or now we give it the condition coffee mug vars equal to -5. Print this is true. So you see it's nesting, so it would just keep going on. So if you had like 20 of these else ifs, it would be way out here. It would just get really crazy and hard to maintain. So this else if is just a nice clean way to write it, and it doesn't it avoids unnecessary code indentation, which makes the code sloppy. So just want to let you know that this is the exact same thing as these else ifs, just this is a cleaner way to see it, and you'll probably see it this way. Alright, let's cut this off. It's getting a little long.